Hello, welcome to YJ Digital World. I remain your host, Agu Joseph. On today's video, I will be teaching you how to make simple party flyer. In making this design, I will be making use of Adobe Photoshop 2020. So let's get into the video. First of all, you have to open the Adobe Photoshop application and click on Create. After clicking on Create in the Adobe application, the next thing I'll give my project a name. Here, I'll call it a party flyer. Here on my width, I'll set my width on 1200, my height on 1200. My resolution will be 300 dpi, color mode RGB. After that, click on create. So after doing this, the next thing to do is to start your design. So the first thing I'll be doing here now is to bring in some elements that I'll be using for my design. The first, I'll bring in this into my Photoshop and position it around here. Hold your Alt key to scale from the middle. From your keyboard, hold your Alt, you scale up and left click and drag and position it around here. Double click to check. After doing that, the next thing I want to do is to add another element here. I'll drag it in and position it around here, the middle. Hold my Alt to scale out, left click and drag. Check. After that, the next thing I want to do is to reduce my opacity for this image to 80. After doing that, add my layer marks, pick my brush, increase the size of my brush. Make sure your opacity of your brush is on 100%, likewise the flow on 100%. So all I have to do now is to brush out. Please, while brushing, make sure your foreground color is set on black so that you can be able to brush on the white area of your layer marks. So I noticed I brushed it too much. I press X on my keyboard, or I come here and click on this to select white so that I can gain back those black parts that I'm missing. Okay, after this, the next thing I want to do, I'll come back to this first layer. I'll want to blur out some of the part of this image, so I'll come to filter, blur, gallery, field filter. So on this field filter, the next thing I'll increase this to like 30 pixel. I think this is okay for the first layer. While for the second layer, which is this, I'll come to filter and increase it to like 22 and click on OK. After doing that, I want to bring in another element called dust background. Drag it in, position it here. Okay, double click on it or you click on the check button. The next thing to do is to add marks. So you pick your brush. On this marks layer, you come back to your foreground, change it to black. Then you brush out this part. Press X to regain some part of it. Okay, after doing this, The next thing is to add another element. I'll drag it in, call the eye stock, is a smoke effect layer. So I'll drag it, is an image. So hold my I'll check. Okay, Control T to transform, or come to edit on the menu here. Come to edit, click on transform. That is the keyboard shortcut to transform an object in Photoshop. So you hold Alt and left click and drag out, drag towards the side. Think this is okay, double click to check. Change your blending mode to screen. After changing the blending mode to screen, the next thing I'll have to do is to add my layer marks. I'll click on my layer marks here. I've added my layer marks, pick my brush, change my foreground color to black so that I can be able to brush on this white surface of my marks. So I'll just come here and brush over. Okay, I've done that. So after doing that, after brushing, the next thing I'll be doing is to add my gradient map. So all I have to do is click on my adjustment layer here, click on gradient map. Make sure whenever you want to add gradient map, make sure that your gradient map thumbnail is selected, like mine on my screen here. So I'll come back here, click on this. So the gradient map is made up of 3 regions: the shadow, the midtones, and the highlight. So I'll be making use of highlight and shadow. So if I want to add my midtones, I can click here to add midtones, but I don't need it, so I'll delete it. So I'll click on this here, come over here. So the column code for this is 34130A. That is the color code. Then over here, I'll come here back and click on my highlight. Color code for my highlight is 645 E16. So that's for that. I'll check. After this, I will select all the hue elements here and group them and call it BG, which stands for my background. So after that, I want to add depth to my background. I'll come to adjustment layer here, add curve. I'll set my curve this way. I'll set my curve on 72. Input here 72. Output 192. I think that's so. Also add another curve here, but before that I have to let me drag in this into this group here. I'll add another curve. Come to my adjustment layer, click on curves. Okay, add the curve. I think this is too much. My input should be 83. Set my input on 83. I don't need it to be very strong. Output should be 43. 40. Okay, let me see. 48 is okay for this. So after doing that, I close. Add another curve here. So this curve layer I want to add is in the main purpose for me adding this curve is to give my background a look that will make my text pops out. I don't want to make the background so dull or too bright in a way that whenever I place text it can't be seen. So I want to add a little bit of depth to the background so that when I place text, the text will be more visible, not missing in the design. So for me to do this, I'll add curve. My input should be 91 and output should be 40. Okay, now you can see that I've added that. So the next thing I want to do, if you notice, almost the whole part is dark. So I want to add this particular curve here to just a particular region of my design. So I will invert this layer, Control I on the keyboard to invert layer marks. My layer marks has changed from white to black. Okay, so if you notice, the layer is not visible on my workspace. So for me to make it visible, I'll come over here, select my gradient. Okay, here's my gradient. So for me, in order for me to brush on this black masked layer, I'll make sure that everything is set. Okay, my gradient is already set. It's on black and white. So all I have to do is left click and drag. If you can see now, it has been added to this part of my layer. You can see it has been added to that part of my layer. So I'll be placing some information there and I need them to be very visible. So after doing this, the next thing I'll be doing in this design is to bring in my model. So this is the image of my model. All I have to do is to position it around here. After this, I'll close this my background layer, come back to where I have my model image. I'll add a layer mask. After adding a layer mask, pick my gradient tool. My foreground color is on black. Just left click and drag this way. If you can see, Control 0 on my keyboard to zoom in. Can you see? I've brushed out some parts of my model. You can see now this part of my design is now visible. So the next thing I'll be doing is to add a little bit of curve. I want to brighten up this image. For me to do this, I'll come to my adjustment layer here, click on curves. Okay, after clicking on curve, I left click and drag clip masked. I want the effect to be on the models, not on the whole project. Okay, set this on 147. Output on 216. Okay, this is before, this is after. So the next thing I'll be doing is to add a new layer here. Add the new layer, pick my brush tool, hold my Alt on my keyboard. I want to sample a color from my background here. I hold Alt. You see my point has changed to a pick color picker. So I'll just left click and pick this color. I'll come over here, scale down the open and close bracket key that is beside your P. button on your keyboard to scale down and scale up the size of my brush. The open and bracket key beside my P key on my keyboard. Think this okay this way. I'll just come over here and brush, add another layer, come over here and brush as well. So after that, change this the blending mode to screen. Likewise, this I change the blending mode to screen as well. Reduce the opacity a little bit. Okay, and Ctrl T on my keyboard to transform and increase the range. Okay, after this, select the image and group them, holding, click on the first layer, hold shift and click on the last layer. I've selected everything. Ctrl G to group, or you come over here and click on this to group the whole model image. I'll call this model. So after that, the next thing I'll be doing is placing of text. In order to place text, one have to make your text layers to be well structured, thereby controlling the eye movement. So in order for me to do this, I'll come here to ID guide, click on view, come over here, click on new guide layout. Okay, it's already set, so I'll click OK. So the first thing I'll be adding, I have the text over here. I'll come here and copy it. I'll select the text, copy, come back to the Photoshop panel here, click on my text tool, left click and paste, check. After checking, here is my character panel where I make adjustments to my text. So if you can't find your one here, you can come to your window on your menu here and look for it here. Here is it, you click on it. So the font I'll be using for this part, I'll be calling it Montserrat. My foreground color of the text should be white. Montserrat. Okay, regular. Okay, my size should be 5.5. Okay, let me leave it on 5. Vertical space 7. That's for that. Okay, so increase my tracking a little bit. Come over here, change this to bold. Ctrl T. Sorry. Hold my text tool, select and scale up. Add more tracking. Think it's okay this way. I'll check. So the next thing I'll do is double click on this to open my layer style. Come to drop down shadow here. Think this is okay. Making the text more visible. So I'll position my text around somewhere here. After doing this, the next text I'll be placing is called the theme of the event, called Ladies Night. Come over here, I'll paste, check. Okay, my font size should be 54.87. I'll be using Tone brush. That's the name of my font. So after placing the lady's info, I'll come here next to my notepad, copy this text here, come over here, pick my text tool, left click and paste. Click OK. Change my font to go bold. Change the color of this text as well. Change it to this FFE 601. 601. Click OK. So bring in my next text, which is this. I'll copy it. Come over here, pick my text tool, and then I'll paste it. Check. Change my font to Montserrat, extra bold. Change my color to white. My spacing will be changed as well. Increase this to 7.07. It's okay. My font size 5.79. I think that's good for this. So I'll just left click and drag, position it around here. Okay, scale this up a little. So after this, next thing I'll be doing is to group this layer, Ctrl G, call this music policy. I'll duplicate, Ctrl G or left click and drag to here to duplicate, Ctrl T to transform, slide it over here, check, come to my notepad, copy this text, come over here, also just edit it. After that, the next thing I'll be doing is to bring in my text, copy this text here, come to my shape panel, you'll pick my ellipse tool, left click, hold shift, okay, left click and drag. So I'll be changing this color to this C5 0808. Okay, after that I'll click outside, pick my text tool and paste. Okay, move your mouse to your ellipse layer here, hold Ctrl, your mouse pointer changes to this, you left click here, come to this layer, click on this layer, click on your mouse tool, align horizontally and vertically as well. Ctrl D to deselect, Ctrl T to transform, left click and drag out. Think it's okay this way. I'll click enter, I'll press check, either one of them works. So the next thing I'll do is to pick my text tool, come here, copy this text. I want to place this text around my circle. So I'll come to my circle layer here, move my mouse pointer till it changes this way. Let me zoom in till it changes to this. So you just click OK and you paste. So after pasting, Ctrl A, I highlight everything. Let me reduce the size. Okay, that's for that. Come over here. I want to reposition this here. Okay, 3.5 is okay. So I'll come here, increase this to 2. That's that for this. So the font I'll be using is still Montserrat. I'll put it on medium. Set it on medium. Okay, bold is good enough. So I'll click on this, hold shift, click on this layer, group, Ctrl G to group, call it drink IQ. So Ctrl T to transform. I'll position it around here. Okay. So after that, the next thing I'll be placing is called the next thing I'll be doing is placing my time. So copy the time here. I've copied it, come here, pick my text tool, paste, check, changing the font to go bold. Go bold, tiny light. Okay, that's what I'll be using for this. So my font size should be 21.96. Okay, I'll reduce by tracking to -80. That's for this. So after that, Ctrl T, right click, flip anti-clockwise. Right click, rotate 90 degree counterclockwise, anti-clockwise. So you have to do is come here, position it here, click OK, drag this layer here, select the two, Ctrl T to transform. Think this is okay for this, you check. So the next thing I'll be placing here should be this. I'll drag it into my Photoshop. Sorry. Left click and drag it in to my Photoshop. Double click to check, scale down. Okay, drag it over here. So come over here, pick this other drink, place it over here. I think I'll place it this way. So after placing it side by side, I'll zoom in. So come here, Ctrl G to group and call it drinks. I'll duplicate, Ctrl G to duplicate. That's the keyboard shortcut for duplicating. Ctrl T to transform, right click on it, flip vertically, drag it down vertically. So all I have to do is to come to this layer which I flipped upside down, add a mask to it, select my gradient, click and drag. Okay. Thank you guys. We have come to the end of today's tutorial. Do well to like this video, share with friends, subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content, turn on your notification bell to get notification whenever I upload new content. Thank you guys for watching.